Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. We're on the test server for Raid Shadow Legends right now. Once again, thank you all for the support on the channel to enable me to get to this point where I can be making these videos for you. I hope that you enjoy, and of course let me know if you like the format, if there's anything different you'd like to see, that sort of thing. I'd be really happy to take that advice on for the next time we're on the test server. But anyway, let's look at Kinagashi right here. I think she's kind of interesting, and she's going to be very easy to get if you want her. So, especially if you're early in the game and you're not able to complete the full fusion for Helicath, and that's quite possible. Could be quite a difficult fusion. I'll do a whole fusion guide looking at the plan, which events to target when it does go live. But simply getting 4 of this rare from any of the events, and you can fuse up a Kinagashi very, very easily. So even as a brand new player to the game, getting just 1 copy of her could be very straightforward to do. And I think she's actually going to be pretty helpful early game. Probably not that good late game, but very good for the Shadowkin faction crypt. Let's take a look and you'll see exactly what I mean pretty much immediately when we look at her kit here. So her A1, Leaping Sword Art, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30 bucks to a 40% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. So this A1 isn't that good, to be honest. It's not great. 40% chance per hit is actually fairly low. You'll get a little bit of turn meter depletion from this, but it's very, very unreliable. I think the place where she's going to excel, and especially help out earlier players, is going to be Fire Knight level 20, where that little bit of turn meter depletion can actually help you quite a bit. Also, Spider 20, she might be reasonably helpful there, you know, just as someone you can bring in that is going to add a bit of turn meter depletion. Well, I'll show you my Fire Knight run actually pretty quick here. Her A2 then, United Front. This one is very intriguing. This books to a 3-turn cooldown. Team up with 1 random ally to attack a single enemy. Also fills the turn meters of all allies by 15%. So again, this move isn't that amazing, right? An ally attack with a single ally is a pretty weak move, but the fact that this does give you that 15% turn meter boost as well makes it kind of reasonably okay, right? If we think about someone like Deacon Armstrong, giving your team that 15% turn meter, now he also decreases the enemy's turn meter, does his extra turn, and the other stuff that he does is really, really good. 15% turn meter though, it's a little bit of a bonus that I think is kind of intriguing. I think certainly for an early player, it's not terrible to bring this against the Demon Lord clan boss, for example. I think that's going to fall off very quickly. You'll get much better champions. But I'm thinking like someone who's a month into the game and you pick her up, I think this is going to be a great skill for someone early on in the game. Again, that single 1 ally attack, though that's not really going to go that far. But some interesting potential for clan boss, potentially. And then what makes her, I think, really redeems her and makes her really cool is this A3. Recall from Death, 4-turn cooldown, revive an ally with 50% HP, 50% turn meter, and put a 60% increased defense buff on the ally for 2 turns. It's a really solid single target revive. That's a really solid single target revive. So we put all this stuff together, and I think the thing that stands out to me straight away is that once you hit 6 months played, you're never going to take her into really any sort of content again. Why is that? Because your 6-month login reward is Seal of the Drakes, and Seal of the Drakes brings a single target revive. Half HP and ally protection. Now, they don't get the turn meter, but she brings you that single target revive. On top of that, she's bringing you lots and lots of healing, increased speed buffs, decreased speed, turn meter depletion potentially on an enemy, AoE stuns. Like, Seal of the Drakes is just straight up better. So once you've got Seal, I don't really see any reason that you would ever bring in Kinagashi into a run, really, right? You know, into a dungeon. I just think Seal's going to do whatever Kinagashi does, but better. But up until that point, she's okay. I think she's okay. So I'm going to show you the sort of builds I have here. Obviously now, obviously my gear is way better. I've put her into really good gear so you can sort of see her performance. Obviously when you start out, you're not going to have anywhere near this gear. The key stuff that you're looking to do with her, I think, is really to crank her speed up high. And that's really it. That's really your main priority. And then give her some reasonable HP. Give her some HP percentage gloves, HP percentage chest plate, All that stuff is good, and then with lots and lots of speed. If we look at her base stats, right, she does have her A1 single target attack scales off attack, but her base attack is very low. We're really not worried about making that hit hard. And we can give her some crit rate, you can give her some attack, and that's fine, but it's not really a huge priority. I do think with 18,000 base HP, she's got a lot of HP, giving her lots and lots of HP so she can stay alive, making her fast, so she's just constantly turn meter boosting your team, reviving people that die, doing a bit of turn meter depletion. I think that's what we're aiming for. So I have her 51k, 3k defense. Again, when you're starting out, pushing her over 30k is going to be good. Trying to get over 2k defense is good. Trying to push above 200 speed is good. If you can give her some accuracy as well, so she can land the turn meter depletion, that's good too. I would say about 200, 220 is really more than enough. When you start out, that's going to be hard to get as well. In terms of the sets, this is interesting. I gave her Reflex, which I think later in the game is probably her go-to. 40% chance to reduce random skill cooldown by 1 turn. That being said, Reflex, I think, is a really good set for other champions, like your Geomancers and so on. Your Royal Guards, maybe, for Hydra, Husk for Hydra. So I don't know if you want to waste your Reflex gear on Kinagashi. I don't know if you want to waste it on her, because her move, while it's good, isn't that good. So I don't know. This is very optional. I think other good sets for her, I think just straight up speed sets are great. Just make her faster. Give her more turns. Straight up speed is really, really good. Obviously, accuracy sets to give her accuracy. If you need the accuracy to actually land her turn meter depletion, not that important, but you can give it to her. It's not awful. Lifesteal can be okay. Heal her up with her masteries, especially for clan boss. Early game lifesteal is decent. I think regeneration is very, very good. Heal her up every turn. I think that's great for any reviver. And then same thing with Reflex. Relentless would be amazing on her, but I don't feel like you want to waste your Relentless gear, which you can only get from winning tournaments. I don't think you want to waste it on this champion. Obviously, any divine speed stuff you pick up as well, of course, is going to be useful. Swift parry will be fine for a bit of speed. There's lots of options. Resilience is good. Perception's really good. All that sort of stuff. I think Guardian, once you get into Doom Tower, is going to be great as well, but you probably start moving past her by the time you get there. And in terms of masteries, I have her going down the left-hand side of the offense tree for War Master, and then into the defense tree. And I think this is going to be great for all that sort of stuff. Clan Boss, Demon Lord, Faction Wars, Dungeons, etc. So let's dive in. Let's see her in action. Let us see her in action, I think, in the 2 main areas. So the first big place I'm going to run her is in Fire Knight. Now, I'm not going to really try to make this, it's just very difficult to emulate a new account. It really is. But I've put together a team sort of like this, which I think is a relatively accessible team for a new player starting now. So Deliana, the login reward legendary, you all get her, and she is amazing. We've got now obviously my gear is way better than what you'll have, but to give you an idea, we've got Kinagashi thrown in there as well. Helicath, who's in the builds I used in my unkillable clan boss video showing him off. Stag Knight, he's coming in to give us AoE decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. He's the right affinity for this level 20 Fire Knight. He's super good for it. He has decreased speed on his A1 as well, stopping Fire Knight getting his shield back up. And then we actually have an uncommon champion, Armiger, because he does turn meter depletion whenever he crits on his A1. So I think this, you could be playing the game for 2 or 3 months and you could have this team put together. You'd have to pull Stag Knight. And you'd have to, I guess if you fuse up Helicath, you have to pull an extra Kinagashi, right? So maybe that, I didn't think about that until right now. But let's dive in and just, you can get a feel for how these champions are doing and how they sort of all compare with this sort of level of gear. So, yeah, we can see this working hopefully fairly well. And that ally attack from Kinagashi can be kind of good, right? If she triggers Deliana's ally attack on the waves, it's kind of nice, right? Deliana does an AoE attack. An extra AoE attack's quite good. Then we've got double hitting attacks on Stag Knight and Helicath. Double hitters. They can help us to knock down the Fire Knight shield. Like, for example, that ally attack from Kinagashi, if that hits the Fire Knight and it triggers Stag Knight or it triggers Helicath, that's 4 notches off the Fire Knight shield. That's quite useful. That's quite decent. And then, of course, because Armiger is decreasing turn meter with his A1, very useful to trigger that against the Fire Knight. Actually, in a couple of my test runs, what I really noticed, and you'll see when we get to the Fire Knight, was that when she triggers the ally attack from Armiger, it can actually allow Armiger to do his enemy max HP A2, which can hit that Fire Knight really, really hard, do a lot of damage. He'll only do that move by default if the Fire Knight's turn meter is low enough, but that extra ally attack can be part of what helps it. So you can see we're going to get through these waves. Obviously, no problem with this team. I think even with much worse gear, you're going to get through these waves. Really no problem at all either. Because we have so much defense from Deliana and Helicath. It's kind of crazy. And if anyone ever does die, Kinagashi can pick them up, right? Kinagashi can pick them up. We're going to get tons of healing from Deliana. Look at that, the block damage and the shields from Helicath, and the Fire Knight just can't do anything to us. It's kind of hilarious here. It's kind of funny. Obviously, with this team, we don't have a ton of control here on the turn meter, but hopefully we will have enough. You can see that ally attack from Kinagashi actually being kind of useful. Gets the shield down. We start getting some debuffs on him. The decreased speed there is really the key. You can see her turn meter depletion didn't trigger there. It's super random on her A1. It didn't work. It just didn't work. So it didn't do anything for us. But, you know, she's consistently pumping out those double hitters. It's not too terrible. It's not the worst. Not the worst thing in the world. There we go. The shield goes down. Get some ally attacks in. We're actually landing, finally, some kind of reasonable damage. Armiger is going to be on the turn meter depletion now. And what we're really hoping for, you can see the decreased cooldown popping from Reflex set 2. What we're really going to be hoping for is for Kinagashi to ally attack with Armiger to really get some nice extra damage out from his A2. We'll see if we can make that happen. It's completely random. So, you know, that's there. We got a bit of turn meter depletion from Kinagashi right there. You know, it's something. It's something. So this certainly isn't going to be the fastest run in the world, but I mean, my goodness, is this a safe run? My goodness, is this a safe run? You know, Kinagashi plus Deliana is kind of nuts for level 20 dungeons as it is. You throw in Helicath and it gets kind of nuts. And there you go. Oh, I actually got an ancient shard. It's a pity this the test server, huh? But it took it 3 minutes. 3 minutes to do this run. I would say, you know, without the level of gear I have here, it's going to take you a good bit longer. But Deliana really pumping out the damage, and Helicath really pumping out the damage too, guys. There's some serious champions, and I'll show you their stats. They're not, they have 100% crit rate, but they're not stacking crazy crit damage. They just do a lot of damage. These champions are just super good. Kinagashi herself, you can see, really, in terms of damage, she's really not contributing much at all. But it's that extra ally attack, just helping knock down that Fire Knight shield. The safety of having a revive, that is somewhat useful there. So, I mean, just again, to reiterate this, because I've been so impressed by the more I've used them. Like Deliana, she only has 125% crit damage. It's really not crazy. 100% crit rate. You know, I could, if I wanted to on this account, I could build her with double that crit damage, you know? But I've just built her in more of a supportive build, and she's still slapping, and it's the same thing with Helicath. Again, these are obviously this is really good gear overall, but just to show you, like, it's not absolutely insane in terms of damage, but it just works great. It just works well, really well. Let's jump into the Shadowkin faction crypt. This crypt is pretty tough. I actually have not tested this yet, so I'm curious to see how this is going to go. So let me take out a Boro here. Let me put in Kinagashi, and let's see if it works, shall we? Let's see if it works. So this crypt can be quite nasty because the boss at the end, he does one shot, you know, your champions. It's quite rough. I'm hoping that little bit of extra turn meter from Kinagashi, the resurrect from Kinagashi, might come in kind of clutch. I mean, I've no idea. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, right? But we've got obviously Ninja going to be doing tons of damage, controlling these waves. We have, I've just realized I stole some gear off of Jintoro. So I've stolen some gear off Jintoro. So I think I stole his weapon. So he's probably not going to be doing as much damage as he should. That being said, he's still doing plenty, but I think he is missing some gear. So if we fail, we'll have to come and switch it up again. We've got Yoshi over here. He's going to be giving us increased attack, upping our damage. Definitely you want to bring in, I think, an increased attack champion to Shadowkin. They're a very aggressive faction. Very aggressive. One thing that they haven't had is an easy way to resurrect, and Kinagashi provides that to you, which is so useful, right? In fact, I don't even think, have they had another Reser? I think she is the first resurrect of the entire faction. I know Gamoran, the legendary, he can resurrect someone when an enemy dies, which is actually super cool for this faction crypt. I think he's really fun. Might do a video on him at some point. My girlfriend has him, but he's only level 50 and not super built out or anything, but I might do a video looking at him when she beats. I'm not sure if she's beaten Shadowkin. I must find out. But yeah, it's a really great thing to bring for the faction crypts. It's just that level of, yeah, it just gives you that level of safety. And I just don't see how you would really be replacing her either. I think she's going to be a mainstay of pretty much your level 20, 21 faction crypt here for pretty much forever. And for getting 3 stars in all the different faction crypt levels, I think she's just kind of a no-brainer to slot in here, which makes her a very safe build for, again, an early game player, right? Early game player, I definitely get my starter champion to 60. I definitely get Deliana to 60. But Hinagashi, she's not a bad option as a pretty early game thing to build, giving you a bit of turn meter boost. That resurrect is useful. All the rest is pretty cool. So you can see here, he should one-shot somebody. Okay, he didn't one-shot him. That's actually quite good for us. Here we go. We get the ally attack. Actually landed decrease attack. And now he got Bog Blessing off. That turn meter boost plus the ally attack landing decrease attack. That was actually great. And look at that. This is actually the most straightforward run I've ever had of the faction crypt. Was it Hinagashi or was it removing the weapon from Jintoro? What was the key? I don't know, but we just sailed through. Now, obviously, we've got really good champions. They're all fully geared, of course. Well, not fully geared. It's not his weapon. He's missing his gloves. His gloves are missing. His poor old crit damage gloves. Okay. I mean, he's still pretty well. He's still fine, right? Even without those. But yeah, you know, I really don't think she's not bad. You know what? I'll put on these gloves another time. You don't need to see me put these gloves on. So Hinagashi, how is she? Look, mid game, late game. I really think the only place you're going to use her once you're mid game and further, the only place really is Faction Wars. But she's really good for Faction Wars. Actually, she's great. She is currently, as far as I can think of, the only reviver for the entire faction. So that's really good. And yeah, look. You can get her for sure. She's going to be great for that faction. It's a solid revive. It's a great A2. The A1 is useful for that boss as well. Great for the faction. I certainly think early game, she's really good. Combos very well with Deliana. Deliana gives you lots of healing. She's got a really good A1. Going to work really well with this sort of stuff. Going to work really well here too. And then basically being a reviver without a heal, because Deliana provides you so much healing, you can actually, yeah, she just goes really well with her. I think they're a great combo. I think they kind of did it intentionally, to be honest. I think you throw Helicath in there as well, if you're able to get him. And Helicath providing you with big shields, providing you with block damage, weaken. Like the 3 of them together is just, it's just a great wombo combo for basically like all the dungeons, nearly all the dungeons, nearly all the Doom Tower. There's so much stuff you're going to be able to knock down. And then I think, look, when you get Seal of the Drakes, I think for the most part, really, Seal of the Drakes does replace Kinagashi. Let's be honest. I was calling her Hinagashi. It's Kinagashi. I think Seal of the Drakes really comes in and gives you a better single target revive. Of course, Seal of the Drakes is going to take your legendary books. It takes 6 months to get her. I think until that point, yeah, Kinagashi. She's actually solid for that. She's solid. So yeah, I certainly grab her. You know, if you're not going to be going for the full-on fusion, I think Kinagashi, well worth your time. I think she's well worth your time. Is she worth going for an extra copy? If you are going for the fusion, I think if you're still struggling with Shadowkin faction crypts, I think it might be worth going, you know, if it's not going to stress you out too much, if it's only a moderate, you know, stress, I think then, yeah, I think she could be a decent one to grab just to really lock down that Shadowkin faction crypt. But I don't think she's going to really excel once you're in the mid game anywhere else. But there you go. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.